I spent 40 years teaching children the difference between right and wrong. I taught them about honesty, integrity, and the importance of facing consequences. But I never imagined I'd have to teach those same lessons to my own grown children. At 68 years old, after discovering they'd been using me as their personal ATM, while laughing behind my back. My son was cheating on his wife. My daughter was helping him do it, and I was funding the whole operation without even knowing it. My name is Margaret Williams, but everyone calls me Maggie. For 40 years, I stood in front of classrooms full of third graders, teaching them their multiplication tables and how to write in cursive. I taught them about character and kindness. I taught them that family means everything. I believed that with my whole heart. My husband James and I raised 2 children in our modest 3-bedroom home on Maple Street. Derek was our baby. Born 3 years after his sister Patricia, Trish we called her. James worked as an electrician, and between his steady income and my teaching salary, we built a comfortable life. We weren't rich, but we never went without. More importantly, we taught our children the value of hard work and the importance of standing by family no matter what. When James passed away 5 years ago after a sudden heart attack, I thought my world had ended. We'd been married for 43 years. He was my best friend, my partner in everything. The house felt enormous and empty without him. But I had my children, and I had my grandchildren, and I held on to them like a lifeline. James had been a careful man. He'd had a good life insurance policy, and combined with our savings and my teacher's pension, I was comfortable. Not wealthy, but secure. I could afford my small house, my car, my groceries, and even help out my children when they needed it. And they needed it often. Derek had always been what James called dreamer. He had big ideas but struggled with follow-through. His first marriage ended badly when he was 35, leaving him with debt and child support payments. Then, 3 years ago, he met Lisa at a company picnic. She was younger, pretty, and seemed to ground him in a way his first wife never had. I was so happy when they got married 2 years ago. Finally, I thought, Derek has found his footing. Trish had done better for herself, or so it seemed. She'd gotten her real estate license at 25 and slowly built up a client base. She'd never married, claiming she was too focused on her career. I'd helped her with the startup costs for her business, $20,000 that she promised she'd pay back once she was established. That was 15 years ago. She never paid me back, but I never ask. That's what mothers do, isn't it? We help our children succeed. Derek and Lisa's wedding was beautiful. They couldn't afford much, so I helped with the venue costs, another $80,000. James would have wanted me to do it, I told myself. What's money compared to seeing your son happy? After the wedding, things seemed good for a while. Derek had a job as a sales manager at an electronics store. Lisa worked as a dental hygienist. They rented a small apartment across town. I'd see them for Sunday dinners, and Trish would usually join us too. We were a family. But then Derek started having problems. First, his car broke down. He needed $500 for repairs. "Mom, I just started this job," he said, his voice tight with stress. "I can't ask for time off to deal with this, and I can't get to work without my car. Can you help me out? I'll pay you back when I get my next commission check." Of course. I helped him. He was my son. Then it was the apartment. The landlord was raising the rent, and they needed first and last month for a new place. Another $200. "We're good for it, Mom," Derek assured me. "This new place is actually cheaper in the long run. We'll be able to save money and pay you back faster." I believed him. Then there were the smaller things. A birthday gift for Lisa that he couldn't quite afford. New tires. A medical bill that insurance didn't cover. Each time, Derek would call me with that familiar strain in his voice, and each time, I'd write a check or transfer money online. I'd raised him to come to me when he was in trouble. How could I turn him away now? Trish would often be there during these conversations. She'd nod encouragingly when Derek made his requests. "You're such a good mom, Maggie," she'd say, squeezing my hand. Not everyone would be so understanding. I felt good about helping. This is what family does, I told myself. This is what James would have wanted. Every Sunday they'd come over for dinner. I'd make Derek's favorite pot roast or Trish's beloved lasagna. We'd sit around my kitchen table, the same table where I'd helped them with homework as children, and we'd talk and laugh. Derek would tell stories about difficult customers at work. Trish would complain about demanding clients who wanted to see 30 houses before making a decision. Lisa would talk about her patients, careful never to break confidentiality but sharing funny stories about children who were afraid of the dentist. Those Sunday dinners were the highlight of my week. After James died, that house could feel so quiet. But on Sundays it felt full again. It felt like a home. I was happy. I thought they were happy too. I had no idea what was really going on behind my back. It was a Sunday in late September, one of those perfect autumn days when the air is crisp but the sun is still warm. I'd spent the morning preparing dinner, pot roast with carrots and potatoes, homemade rolls, and apple pie for dessert. The house smelled wonderful, like cinnamon and comfort. Derek and Lisa arrived first around 2 o'clock. Derek kissed my cheek and immediately headed for the bathroom, leaving his phone on the kitchen counter. Lisa helped me set the table, chatting about a difficult root canal patient she'd assisted with that week. "Is Trish coming?" Lisa asked, folding napkins the way I'd taught her. "She said she'd be here by 2:30. I replied, checking the roast. "She had a showing this morning." Derek came back from the bathroom and joined us in the kitchen. We were laughing about something, I can't even remember what now, when his phone lit up on the counter. I wasn't trying to snoop. I truly wasn't. But the phone was right there, and the message preview was large enough to read from where I stood. "Amanda, missing you already. Last night was amazing. Can't wait for Friday." There was a heart emoji, and a kissing emoji. My stomach dropped. I looked at Derek, who was oblivious, pouring himself a glass of water. I looked at Lisa, who was still folding napkins, humming softly to herself. I felt sick. Maybe it was innocent. I told myself, maybe Amanda was just a friend, maybe it was a misunderstanding. But that word last night, and those emojis, they didn't feel innocent. I turned back to the stove, my hands shaking slightly as I stirred the gravy. "Mom, you okay?" Derek asked. "You look pale." "I'm fine," I managed. "Just a little warm from cooking. Why don't you go sit down? Dinner's almost ready." He took his phone from the counter. I felt a flash of relief and guilt at the same time, and went into the living room. Lisa followed him. I stood there in my kitchen, trying to calm my racing heart. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Maybe I should just ask him about it. But something stopped me. Some instinct I'd developed over 40 years of teaching, of learning to read children's faces, of knowing when something wasn't quite right. Trish arrived 20 minutes later, breezing in with a bottle of wine and apologies about traffic. We all sat down to eat, and on the surface, everything seemed normal. Derek complimented my pot roast. Lisa talked about wanting to plant bulbs in their apartment's small patio area. Trish dominated the conversation with a story about a client who'd made an offer on a house, then backed out at the last minute. But I couldn't stop thinking about that text message. I watched Derek throughout dinner. Was he acting differently? He seemed normal, joking, eating heartily, reaching over to squeeze Lisa's hand when she mentioned being tired. If he was cheating, he was doing a remarkable job of hiding it. Or maybe I was imagining things. After dinner, Derek and Trish went out to the back porch while Lisa and I cleaned up. Through the kitchen window, I could see them talking. Derek gesturing with his hands the way he always did when he was explaining something. "He's been working so hard lately," Lisa said, scraping plates. "Some nights he doesn't get home until 10 or 11. They've got him training new staff, and you know how demanding retail management can be. 10 or 11 at night. Training new staff. That must be difficult for you," I said carefully. "Being home alone so much." Lisa shrugged. "It's temporary. Once the new people are trained, his schedule will go back to normal. And we need the extra money. We're trying to save up for a down payment on a house." She said it so hopefully, so trustingly. My heart ached. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that text really was innocent. Maybe I was letting my imagination run wild because I'd been watching too many crime dramas on television. But I couldn't shake the feeling. After they left, all three of them, with hugs and promises to see each other next Sunday, I stood in my living room, looking at Derek's phone number in my contacts. I should call him. I should ask him about Amanda. But I didn't. Instead, I lay awake that night, staring at my ceiling, listening to the house creak and settle around me. James would have known what to do. James would have handled this. But James was gone, and I was alone with my suspicions and my fears. The next morning I did something I'd never done before. I drove to Derek's workplace. I told myself I was just being paranoid. I told myself I'd feel foolish when I saw him working hard, training employees, being the responsible manager Lisa believed him to be. I told myself this was all just my overactive imagination. The electronics store was in a strip mall 20 minutes from my house. I parked across the parking lot, feeling ridiculous and invasive, like a character in a bad movie. And then I saw him. Derek walked out of the store at 10:30 in the morning with a woman. She was younger than Lisa, maybe in her late 20s, with long dark hair and a bright smile. She was laughing at something Derek had said. They walked to a car, not Derek's car, and she drove them away. Maybe it was work-related, maybe they were going to look at inventory or meet with a vendor. But the way she'd touched his arm, the way he'd looked at her. I sat in my car for a long time after they drove away. That evening, I did something else I'd never done. Something I'm not proud of, but something I needed to do. I created a fake social media profile. It took me an hour to figure out how to do it. I'm not particularly good with technology, but I'm a quick learner when I'm motivated. I used a stock photo of a middle-aged woman, gave her a generic name, Jennifer Miller, and sent a friend request to Derek. He accepted it within an hour. His profile wasn't particularly revealing. Photos of him and Lisa, photos from their wedding, photos of family dinners at my house. But when I clicked on his friends list and found Amanda Chen, according to her profile, I found what I was looking for. She worked at the same store. Her profile was more public than Derek's. And there, buried among photos of her cat and her brunches with girlfriends, were photos of her and Derek, at restaurants, at the beach. One photo, dated 3 months earlier, showed them at what looked like a wine-tasting event. Derek's arm was around her waist. The caption read, "Perfect evening with my favorite person." 3 months ago. They'd been married for 2 years, and he'd been cheating for at least 3 months. I felt nauseous. I closed my laptop and sat in the darkness of my living room, my hands trembling. My son was cheating on his wife. My son, who I'd raised to be honest and decent, was living a double life. And Lisa, sweet Lisa, who worked hard and talked about saving for a house, had no idea. I should tell her, I thought. I should call her right now and tell her what I've found. But something stopped me. I needed to know more. I needed to understand the full picture before I acted. Because once I said something, once I revealed what I knew, there would be no going back. I didn't sleep that night either. The next 2 weeks were torture. I went through my daily routines, grocery shopping, my book club meetings, my volunteer work at the library, but my mind was always elsewhere. I kept thinking about Derek and Amanda. I kept thinking about Lisa's trusting face. I kept thinking about what I should do. I told myself I needed more information, but the truth is I was afraid of what I might find, afraid of destroying my son's marriage, afraid of losing my family. During those 2 weeks, Derek called me twice asking for money. The first time, it was for a new laptop. Mine died, Mom, and I need it for work. They're expecting me to do inventory reports from home, and I can't do it without a computer. It's once $200, but it's an investment. I can't do my job without it. I said yes. I transferred the money that same day. The second time, it was for what he called a work training conference in the next state. It's a management seminar. The company will reimburse me, but I have to pay upfront for the hotel and registration. It's $800. I'll have the money back to you within a month, I promise. I said yes again, even though by then I knew better. Because 3 days after that second call, I drove past Derek's apartment complex on my way back from the grocery store. It was a Wednesday afternoon around 3 o'clock. Derek's car was in the parking lot. He should have been at work. He'd told Lisa he was working a double shift that day. I sat in my car down the street, my heart pounding. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he'd come home early for a legitimate reason. Then Amanda's car pulled into the parking lot. I watched her get out, carrying a bag of takeout food. I watched her walk up to Derek's apartment, the one I'd helped him pay the deposit for. I watched her knock on the door. I watched Derek answer it, dressed in sweatpants and a t-shirt, not his work uniform. I watched him pull her inside, and I watched the door close behind them. I drove home in a daze. When I got there, I sat in my car in my own driveway for 20 minutes, unable to move. That night Lisa called me. "Hi, Maggie," she said, her voice warm and friendly. "I'm just checking to make sure we're still on for Sunday dinner." "Of course," I managed. "I wouldn't miss it." "Great. Derek's been so stressed with work lately. I think he really needs some of your pot roast and family time. He's working late again tonight. Another training session. I keep telling him they're taking advantage of him, but he says it's all part of being in management." I closed my eyes. "Lisa, honey? Oh, I've been meaning to ask you," she continued, not hearing the strain in my voice. "Derek mentioned you helped him with some computer expenses for work. You're always so generous with us. I just want you to know how much we appreciate it. Once we save up enough for our house, we're definitely going to pay you back for everything. You've been such a blessing. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up entirely. "Maggie, are you there?" "I'm here," I whispered. "I'll see you Sunday, sweetheart." After we hung up, I cried. I cried for Lisa. I cried for the betrayal. I cried for the fool I'd been, funding my son's affair without even knowing it. The laptop wasn't for work. The training conference wasn't a conference at all. How many of the other expenses had been lies? How much of my money had Derek used to wine and dine Amanda while his wife sat at home, trusting him, believing in him, planning their future together? I was furious, not just at Derek, but at myself. I'd been so blind, so eager to help, so determined to be the supportive mother that I'd never stopped to question anything. That's when I decided to look deeper. I spent the next 3 days doing something that felt invasive and wrong, but also necessary. I went through my bank records for the past year, documenting every cent I'd given Derek. The car repairs, the apartment deposit 3,200, the laptop 1,200, the conference at 800, and smaller amounts 200 here, 500 there, 150 for this emergency, 400 for that unexpected expense. In 1 year, I'd given Derek $12,750, $12,750. I felt sick looking at the number, but I still didn't know the full picture. I still didn't know if Trish was aware of any of this. I still didn't know exactly how long it had been going on or how serious it was. That's when I made a decision that I'm still not sure was right, but it's what I did. On Saturday, the day before our Sunday dinner, I told Trish I needed help with something at the house. A shelf in my closet is loose, and I can't reach it properly. Could you come over and help me fix it? Trish arrived around 11 with her toolbox. She was always handy with things like that, more like her father than Derek ever was. We fixed the shelf together, chatting about nothing important. Then I made us lunch, sandwiches and iced tea, sitting at my kitchen table in the September sunshine. "I worry about Derek sometimes," I said casually, watching her face. "He seems so stressed lately." Trish nodded, taking a bite of her sandwich. "Retail management is tough. Lots of pressure. He's working such long hours. Lisa says he doesn't get home until 10 or 11 some nights. That's what it takes to move up," Trish said. "He's paying his dues." I took a breath. I ran into Carol Peterson at the grocery store. You remember her. She used to work at that electronics store. She said they rarely keep managers past 8 o'clock, even during the busy season. It was a lie. I hadn't run into Carol Peterson. But I needed to see Trish's reaction. Trish didn't miss a beat. Well, every store is different. Maybe Carol's store was managed differently. She was lying. I could see it in the way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes, in the way she suddenly became very interested in her sandwich. "Trish," I said quietly, "is there something going on with Derek that I should know about?" For just a moment, one brief moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But then it was gone, replaced by confusion. "What do you mean, Mom? Derek's fine. He's just working hard, trying to build a future with Lisa. You'd tell me if something was wrong, wouldn't you? If Derek was in some kind of trouble." "Of course I would," Trish said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "You're imagining things. Derek's fine. We're all fine." But she left soon after that, claiming she had paperwork to catch up on. And I knew that she was hiding something. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again, and I made a decision. I was going to find out the truth. The whole truth, whatever it took. The next morning, Sunday morning, I got up early. Derek had left his phone on my kitchen counter the previous week, and I'd noticed he didn't have a passcode on it. I knew he and Lisa would arrive around 2 o'clock for dinner, and I knew Derek would probably use my bathroom like he always did. I felt guilty about what I was planning. It went against everything I believed about privacy and trust. But my son had lost the right to my trust when he started lying to me and cheating on his wife with money I'd given him. So I waited. They arrived right on time. Derek kissed my cheek, and Lisa hugged me tight. "It smells amazing in here," Lisa said. "Is that your famous chicken and dumplings?" "It is," I said, forcing a smile. "Derek's favorite." We settled into our usual routine. Trish arrived 15 minutes later. We gathered in the kitchen, talking and laughing, and everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. Except it wasn't. Derek excused himself to use the bathroom after about 20 minutes, leaving his phone on the counter next to the sink where he'd washed his hands. I'd been waiting for this moment. "Lisa, honey, could you help me get the serving dishes from the high cabinet?" I asked. "Trish, would you mind checking if I have enough ice?" They both moved to help me, their backs turned to the counter, and I picked up Derek's phone. My hands were shaking as I opened his messages. I had maybe 30 seconds before he came back. I scrolled quickly, looking for Amanda's name. There it was. I clicked on the message thread and scrolled up, my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone would hear it. Amanda, I can't wait for next weekend. You sure your mom will give you the money? Derek, she always does. I'll tell her it's for car insurance or something. She never questions it. Amanda L., your mom is so easy. Does she know she's funding our relationship? Derek, of course not. And she never will. As long as I keep Lisa in the dark and keep mom thinking I'm her responsible son, the money keeps flowing. I scrolled further, my stomach churning. Trish, did you ask her yet? Derek, not yet. Coming over for dinner Sunday. I'll ask her for the conference money then. Trish, perfect. Make sure you tell her it's for work. She'll feel like she's helping your career. Derek, she's so gullible. I almost feel bad sometimes. Trish, don't. She's got plenty of money just sitting in her account. Dad's life insurance and her pension, she's set. She should be helping her kids. Derek, true. And it's not like she needs it for anything. She just sits at home all day. Trish, exactly. At least we're putting it to good use. I scrolled further, finding older messages. Messages about Derek asking Trish to cover for him. Messages about Trish lying to Lisa about Derek's whereabouts. Messages about them laughing about my Sunday dinners, and how I was so desperate for family time that I'd believe anything. There were months of messages, months of lies, months of them using me, mocking me, manipulating me. I heard the bathroom door open. I quickly closed the messages and set the phone back exactly where Derek had left it, my hands shaking violently. Derek came back into the kitchen, smiling. Something smells incredible, Mom. I looked at him, really looked at him. This was my son, the baby boy I'd rocked to sleep, the child I'd taught to ride a bike, the young man I'd been so proud of, and he'd been using me. He and Trish both had been using me, laughing at me, calling me gullible and easy. Mom, Derek said, his smile fading. You okay? You look upset. Everyone was staring at me now. Lisa, Trish! Derek, I took a deep breath. I'm fine, I said, just a little dizzy. Why don't you all sit down? Dinner's ready. We sat down. We ate. We talked. On the surface everything was normal, but inside I was making plans. My children thought I was gullible. They thought I was easy. They thought I would just keep giving them money forever, no questions asked. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. That night, after they all left, Derek and Lisa with their hugs and thanks, Trish with her usual air kiss and promise to call during the week, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea and a notebook. I'm a teacher. Teachers make plans. We break big problems into smaller, manageable steps. We think through consequences. We prepare for different outcomes. So that's what I did. At the top of the page, I wrote, what I know. Then I listed everything. Derek is having an affair with Amanda Chen, a coworker. The affair has been going on for at least 3 months, probably longer. Trish knows about the affair and has been actively helping Derek hide it. Derek has been using money I've given him to fund his relationship with Amanda. Both Derek and Trish have been mocking me behind my back. They view me as gullible and easy to manipulate. They believe I'll keep giving them money indefinitely. I stared at that list for a long time. Then I wrote, what I don't know. Does Lisa suspect anything? How serious is Derek's relationship with Amanda? How much money have I actually given them over the years? Not just the past year. What will happen when the affair comes to light? And finally, what I want. This one was harder. I sat there for 10 minutes, my pen hovering over the paper. What did I want? I wanted my son to be a good man. But that ship had sailed, hadn't it? He was who he was. I wanted my family back. But the family I thought I had was a lie. It had been a lie for months, maybe years. I wanted Derek to face consequences for his actions. I wanted Trish to understand that enabling her brother's behavior was just as wrong as the behavior itself. I wanted them both to know that I wasn't the foolish old woman they thought I was. But more than anything, I wanted to protect Lisa. She was innocent in all of this. She was working hard, being faithful, planning a future with a man who was betraying her at every turn. I wrote, I want Derek and Trish to understand that actions have consequences. I want Lisa to know the truth. I want to stop being their ATM. Then I wrote how. This was the hard part. I could confront Derek directly, but he'd just deny everything. I could tell Lisa what I knew, but she might not believe me. She loved him. People in love often refuse to see the truth, even when it's right in front of them. I needed to be smart about this. I needed to be strategic. Over the next week I did my research. I spent hours on my computer, that same computer I'd claimed I barely knew how to use, learning about joint bank accounts, about how to transfer assets, about estate planning and trusts. I called my lawyer, Robert Henshaw. He'd handled James's estate after he died, and I trusted him. "Robert, I need to make some changes to my will," I said when I met with him on Tuesday afternoon. "And I need to close some accounts." "Of course, Maggie," he said, pulling out his files. "What kind of changes are we talking about?" I explained what I wanted, not why. I wasn't ready to tell anyone the full story yet. But what? I wanted to close the joint checking account I shared with Derek. I'd opened it years ago, when he was going through his first divorce, telling myself it was just for emergencies. But I never closed it afterward. He had full access to that account. He could deposit or withdraw money whenever he wanted. Looking at the statements Robert pulled up, I realized Derek had been withdrawing small amounts regularly. The 50 here, 100 there. Nothing large enough to catch my attention, but over the course of a year it added up to thousands. "I want that account closed," I said firmly. "This week," Robert nodded. "I'll handle it. Anything else? I want to revise my will. Currently everything is split evenly between Derek and Trish. I want to change that." Robert looked at me carefully. "Maggie, if you're having a disagreement with your children, maybe you should take some time to think about this. Estate planning should never be done in anger." "I'm not angry," I said, which was partly true. I was hurt. I was disappointed. I was heartbroken. But anger, that would come later. I'm being practical. I want to set up a trust for my grandchildren, Derek's kids from his first marriage, and any future grandchildren. I want that money protected so it can only be used for their education and welfare. Neither Derek nor Trish will have access to it. And the rest of your estate, I thought about this carefully, split it 3 ways, 1/3 to Derek, 1/3 to Trish, and 1/3 to a charity of my choosing. I'm thinking the women's shelter downtown. Robert made notes. "When would you like this to take effect?" "Immediately." "Can you have the paperwork ready by Friday?" "I can have it ready by Thursday," Robert said. He looked at me seriously. "Maggie, are you sure about this? This is a significant change. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." That evening, I made another call. This one was harder. I called the insurance company and removed Derek as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy. Then I called my bank and removed him as the emergency contact on my accounts. Then I called the credit card company and canceled the card I'd given him, for emergencies, the one he'd used to charge $300-400 over the past 6 months. Each phone call felt like cutting a rope. Each one made me a little sadder and a little more resolved. On Wednesday, Derek called me. "Hey, Mom," he said, his voice cheerful. "How are you doing?" "I'm fine, sweetie. How's work?" "Busy, as always." "Listen, I have a favor to ask. Lisa's birthday is coming up next month and I want to do something really special for her. I was thinking about taking her to that bed and breakfast upstate that she's always wanted to visit. But with all the work expenses lately, I'm a little short. Could you help me out with maybe $600? I want to make it really memorable for her." I closed my eyes. Lisa's birthday. He was asking me for money to take his wife somewhere nice, probably to assuage his guilt about cheating on her. The old me would have said yes immediately. The new me. The one who'd read those text messages. The one who knew exactly what kind of man her son had become. That version of me took a deep breath. "Derek, I need to talk to you about something." "Sure, Mom. What's up?" "I've been thinking a lot about finances lately. About budgeting and planning for the future. And I've realized I need to be more careful with my money." There was a pause. "Okay, what does that mean?" "It means I need to stop giving out money so freely. I have my own retirement to think about. My own future expenses." Another pause, longer this time. "Mom, are you saying you won't help me with Lisa's birthday?" "I'm saying you're a grown man with a job, Derek. You need to budget for your own wife's birthday. But you've always helped us when we needed it." His voice had changed. It was tighter now, with an edge I didn't like. "You helped with the apartment deposit. You helped with my car. You helped with my work computer." "I did. And I'm starting to wonder if that was a mistake." "A mistake." Now he sounded angry. "Mom, we're family. Family helps each other. That's what you and Dad always taught us. You're right, family does help each other. But family also doesn't take advantage of each other." Silence. "What's that supposed to mean?" Derek asked carefully. "It means exactly what it sounds like. I love you, Derek. But I'm not giving you money anymore. For Lisa's birthday or anything else. You're going to have to figure things out on your own." "Mom, I don't understand. Did I do something wrong? Did Trish say something to you?" Interesting that he immediately brought Trish into it. This isn't about Trish. This is about me making better decisions about my finances. I'm sorry, Derek, but my answer is no. He tried arguing for another 5 minutes. He went through the full range: confusion, hurt, anger, guilt, tripping. He reminded me of everything he'd been through. He reminded me that this was for Lisa, who I supposedly loved. He reminded me that Dad would have wanted me to help. I held firm. Finally, he said, "Fine, I'll figure it out myself. I guess I know where I stand now." And he hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, trembling. That was the first time I'd ever said no to Derek about money. The first time in his entire adult life. It felt terrible. It felt necessary. It felt like the beginning of something. 20 minutes later, Trish called. "Mom, I just talked to Derek. He's really upset." "What's going on?" Of course he'd called Trish immediately. Of course they'd discussed it. "I told Derek I'm not giving out money anymore. That's all. But why? Did something happen? Are you having financial problems?" "No, Trish. I'm just being more thoughtful about how I spend my money. But Derek really needs help with Lisa's birthday. And it's not like you can't afford it. You've got Dad's life insurance money just sitting there." There it was. That exact phrase from the text messages. Just sitting there. "My money is my business." Patricia. She heard the tone in my voice, the use of her full name. I only called her Patricia when I was serious. "Mom, I don't understand why you're being like this. We're family. You've always helped us when we needed it. And maybe I've helped too much. Maybe I've made it too easy for you both to depend on me instead of standing on your own feet. That's not fair. We're not dependent on you. Sometimes we need help. Everyone needs help sometimes. Then maybe you should help each other." Derek could ask his sister for $600, couldn't he? Silence. Because Trish didn't want to give Derek money. She just wanted me to give it to him. "I don't have that kind of money lying around, Mom. I have my own bills." "Then Derek will have to figure something else out. I just don't understand this sudden change. Yesterday you were fine. Today you're acting like we're strangers." "I'm not acting like anything, Trish. I'm just setting boundaries. If that upsets you, I'm sorry, but that's how it's going to be." Trish tried for a few more minutes, but I ended the call. Then I turned off my phone and sat in the quiet of my house. It was done. The first step was taken. I'd cut off the money supply, and now Derek and Trish knew something had changed. But they didn't know what I knew. They didn't know that I'd seen those messages. They didn't know that their mother, the woman they thought was so gullible, had been watching and learning and planning. The affair would come out eventually. Affairs always did. And when it did, they'd come running to me, expecting me to fix everything, to bail Derek out of his mess, to help him through his divorce. That's when I would make my move. That's when they would learn that I wasn't the fool they thought I was. I just had to wait. The waiting was harder than I expected. For 2 weeks after I cut off the money, I heard nothing from Derek. Nothing from Trish either. No Sunday dinner invitations were extended from my end, and no one called to ask why. The silence in my house was deafening. I kept myself busy. I volunteered extra hours at the library. I attended my book club. I had lunch with old friends from the school where I'd taught. But all the while, I was wondering what was happening. Were Derek and Trish angry with me? Were they talking about me? Had Derek told Lisa about our conversation? I found out the answer on a Thursday afternoon in mid-October. Lisa called me. "Maggie." Her voice was shaky, uncertain. "Can I come over? I need to talk to someone, and I don't know who else to turn to." My heart started pounding. "Of course, sweetheart. Come over whenever you'd like. I'm coming now. I need to leave this apartment." She arrived 30 minutes later. When I opened the door, I saw that she'd been crying. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face blotchy. She practically fell into my arms. "Oh, honey," I said, holding her. "Come inside. Let me make you some tea." We sat at my kitchen table, that same table where Derek and Trish had sat so many times, laughing and lying to my face. I made Lisa chamomile tea with honey, the way I'd made it for my students when they were upset about something. "What happened?" I asked gently. Lisa wrapped her hands around the mug, staring down into it. "I found text messages on Derek's phone. Messages with a woman named Amanda." I felt my chest tighten. "What kind of messages?" "The kind that make it very clear they're sleeping together." Her voice cracked. "He's been seeing her for months, Maggie. Maybe longer. I don't even know how long. And I had no idea. I trusted him completely." Tears started rolling down her cheeks again. "I'm so sorry, Lisa. He's been lying to me about everything. All those late nights at work. He wasn't at work. All those training sessions and conferences. They were with her. And I believed him. I believed every word. She looked up at me, her eyes full of pain. How could I have been so stupid? You're not stupid. You trusted your husband. That's not stupidity. That's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. But all the signs were there, weren't they? I just didn't want to see them. I wanted to believe we were building a life together. I wanted to believe he loved me. I reached across the table and took her hand. What did Derek say when you confronted him? He didn't deny it. He couldn't. The messages were right there. But he tried to minimize it. Said it wasn't serious, that it was just a stupid mistake, that he'd end it immediately. She laughed bitterly. Like that makes it better. Like months of lying and cheating is just a mistake. What are you going to do? I don't know. I left. I told him I needed space to think. I'm staying with my sister in Riverside for a few days. She wiped her eyes. He kept calling and texting, saying we needed to talk, that we could work through this. But Maggie, I don't think I can. How do you come back from this? How do you ever trust someone again after they've lied to your face for months? I don't know, honey. That's something only you can decide. Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, there's something else. Something that makes it even worse. What is it? When I was looking through his phone, I know it was wrong, but I couldn't stop myself. I found messages with Trish. She knew Maggie. She's known about the affair for months. She's been helping him cover it up. She's been lying to me too. My hand tightened around my tea mug. I thought Trish was my friend. Lisa continued, her voice breaking. We went shopping together. We had lunch. She gave me marriage advice, for God's sake. And the whole time, she knew Derek was cheating on me. She was helping him do it. I felt a wave of anger so intense it took my breath away. Not surprise. I already knew what Trish had done. But hearing Lisa say it, seeing the betrayal on her face, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. I'm so sorry, Lisa. You didn't deserve any of this. There's more, Lisa said quietly. I found messages about money. About Derek asking you for money and you saying no. They were making fun of you, Maggie. Calling you names. Saying terrible things. I know, I said softly. Lisa's head snapped up. You know. I saw the messages a few weeks ago. On Derek's phone when he left it at my house. You knew about the affair. This whole time. I did. And I know that might seem cruel, not telling you immediately. But Lisa, I needed to be sure. I needed to understand the full situation before I acted. Is that why you stopped giving Derek money? Because you knew. Partly. But also because I realized I'd been enabling both of them for years. Making it too easy for them to be irresponsible. Protecting them from the consequences of their own choices. Lisa stared at me. How are you so calm about this? They're your children. They've been using you, lying to you. Oh, I'm not calm, sweetheart. I'm heartbroken. But I'm also done being a doormat for people who see my love as a weakness to exploit. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Lisa asked, what do I do, Maggie? Everyone says I should try to work it out. That marriage is about forgiveness. But I don't know if I can forgive this. I don't know if I even want to. I thought carefully before answering. This was Lisa's life, her decision. I couldn't make it for her. I think, I said slowly, that you need to do what's best for you. Not what other people think you should do. Not what's easiest or most convenient. What's best for you and your future. My sister says I should leave him. That a man who cheats once will cheat again. She might be right, but she might not be. Only you know what you can live with. Lisa nodded slowly. I think I already know what I'm going to do. I just needed someone to tell me it was okay. What are you going to do? I'm going to file for divorce. I can't live with someone I don't trust, and I'll never trust Derek again. She looked at me with worry in her eyes. Are you angry with me? For leaving your son? Angry? Oh, Lisa, no. I'm proud of you for having the strength to choose yourself. She started crying again, but this time it seemed different. Cleaner, somehow. Like she was releasing something that had been building up inside her. We talked for another hour. I made her soup and sandwiches because she admitted she hadn't eaten all day. When she finally left, she hugged me tightly. Thank you, Maggie, for not making me feel guilty about this. For not choosing him over me. You're a good woman, Lisa. You deserve better than what my son gave you. After she left, I sat alone in my living room. Derek's marriage was over. The affair had come to light just as I'd known it would. And right on schedule. My phone rang. It was Derek. Mom, Lisa called you, didn't she? She told you about what happened? She did. I screwed up, Mom. I know I did. I made a huge mistake, and now Lisa's leaving me. She won't even talk to me, she's filing for divorce. I know. I need help, Mom. I need a lawyer. A good divorce lawyer costs money, thousands of dollars, and I need help with the apartment. Lisa was paying half the rent, and I can't afford it on my own. I'll have to move, and I need a deposit for a new place. And no. The word hung in the air between us. What? No, Derek. I'm not helping you. But Mom, I know what you need. You need to face the consequences of your own actions. You need to figure out how to clean up your own mess. I can't believe you're doing this. My marriage is falling apart, and you're abandoning me. Your marriage is falling apart because you cheated on your wife, Derek. Because you lied to her for months. Because you used money I gave you to fund your affair. This isn't happening to you. You made this happen. So that's it? You're just going to turn your back on me? After everything? After everything? I felt the anger rising in my voice. After everything you did, you mean. After you called me gullible behind my back. After you and Trish laughed about how easy I was to manipulate. After you used me as your personal ATM while mocking me for being desperate for family time. Silence. Complete total silence. You saw the messages? Derek said finally, his voice flat. I did. Weeks ago. And you didn't say anything. I was waiting to see what kind of man you really were. Hoping maybe that you'd prove me wrong. That you'd come clean on your own. That you'd show some shred of integrity. I paused. You didn't. Mom, those messages, that wasn't. I didn't mean those things. Yes, you did. And you know what, Derek? That's what hurts the most. Not the affair. Not even the lying. It's knowing that you think so little of me. That you see my love as something to exploit. That's not true. I love you, Mom. Do you? Because people who love each other don't use each other. They don't mock each other. They don't take advantage of each other's kindness. So what are you saying? You're just cutting me off. You're done with me. I'm saying you're a 42-year-old man who needs to stand on his own feet. I'm saying I won't be funding your lifestyle anymore. And I'm saying that if you want a relationship with me going forward, it's going to be an honest one. No more lies. No more manipulation. No more taking advantage of my love for you. And if I need help, real help, not money, but just support, I thought about this. Then you'll have to earn back my trust first, and that's going to take time, Derek. A lot of time. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Trish said you'd react this way. She said you'd turn on us? Trish said that, did she? Is she there with you right now? No, but I talked to her earlier, after Lisa left. And what did dear Trish suggest you do? She said we should give you some space. That you'd come around eventually. That you always do. Well, Trish is wrong. I'm not coming around. Not this time. She's going to call you, to try to smooth things over. I'm sure she will. But it won't change anything. Derek made one more attempt. Mom, please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I'm still your son. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for everything, Derek. That's why this hurts so much. That's why I can't keep enabling you. Because you're my son and I want better for you than this. Better than lying and cheating and using people. But you're not going to become better if I keep bailing you out every time you make a mistake. So this is tough love. Is that what you're calling it? Call it whatever you want. But my answer is still no. He hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there, phone in my hand, and let myself cry. Because despite everything, despite the lies and the betrayal and the mockery, he was still my son. And it broke my heart to say no to him. But I knew it was the right thing to do. 20 minutes later, as predicted, Trish called. And I was ready for her. Trish didn't even bother with pleasantries. Mom, I just talked to Derek. What the hell is going on? I took a deep breath. Hello, Trish, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. This isn't the time for sarcasm. Derek's marriage is falling apart, and you're refusing to help him. What kind of mother does that? The kind who's tired of being used. Used? Mom, he's your son. He made a mistake. A mistake. I cut her off. Treshy had a months-long affair. He lied to his wife every single day. He used money I gave him to wine and dine another woman. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of deliberate choices. People make bad choices sometimes. That's what family is for. To support each other through the hard times. And what about Lisa? Wasn't she family too? She was Derek's wife. Where was your support for her when she was being lied to? Trish hesitated. That's different. How is it different? Because Derek is my brother. Blood family, I had to be loyal to him. Loyal? I repeated. Is that what you call helping him cheat, lying for him, covering up his affair? I was trying to keep him from making things worse. I was trying to protect his marriage. By helping him destroy it, that's quite a strategy, Patricia. She heard the steel in my voice when I used her full name again. Mom, you don't understand. Derek and Lisa were having problems. He was unhappy. Amanda made him feel. Stop. Just stop. I was surprised by how angry I sounded. Don't you dare try to justify what he did. And don't you dare try to make this Lisa's fault. Derek made a choice. You made a choice to help him. Now you both get to live with the consequences. Is this about the money? Is that what this is really about? Because if you're upset about the money, it's not about the money. My voice was louder than I intended. I took a breath, steadying myself. It's about respect, Trish. It's about decency. It's about the fact that you and your brother have been using me and laughing at me behind my back. Silence on the other end of the line. I saw the messages. I continued. All of them. The ones where you called me gullible. The ones where you and Derek talked about how easy it was to get money from me. The ones where you coached him on what lies to tell me? Mom, she's got plenty of money just sitting in her account. I quoted. She's so desperate for family time she'll believe anything. Ring any bells. More silence. Those were private conversations. Trish finally said, her voice quiet. Private conversations about me. About how to manipulate me. About how pathetic I am. We didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it, Trish? Please, explain to me how calling your mother gullible and desperate is somehow not meant to be hurtful. We were venting. Everyone vents about their parents sometimes. There's a difference between venting and what you two were doing. You weren't just complaining. You were actively plotting. You were strategizing about how to get more money out of me. You were mocking my love for you. I'm sorry, Trish said. Okay, I'm sorry. Those messages. I shouldn't have said those things. But you did say them. And more importantly, you meant them. Don't apologize for getting caught, Trish. That's not the same as being sorry for what you did. What do you want from me, Mom? You want me to grovel? Fine. I'm groveling. I'm sorry I said those things. I'm sorry I helped Derek. I'm sorry for all of it. Now will you please help him? He's gonna lose everything. And whose fault is that? You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Something neither of you have been with me in a very long time. So what now? Trish asked, and I heard anger creeping into her voice. You're just going to abandon both of us. Write us off. Pretend not abandoning anyone. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. Boundaries? Trish scoffed. That's just a fancy word for being selfish. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, the selfish ones are the two adults who've been treating their mother like an ATM machine. Who never treated you like that. Yes, you did. You absolutely did. And the worst part is, you didn't even have the decency to hide it well. You were so confident I'd never find out, so sure I was too stupid or too desperate to notice what you were doing. I never said you were stupid. No, you said I was gullible. That's worse somehow. Stupid people can't help it. But gullible people, that means we're choosing to be fooled. That means we deserve what we get. Trish was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It was harder, colder. You know what? Maybe we were right about you being desperate. Look at you, sitting in that empty house all alone, clinging to these Sunday dinners because you have nothing else in your life. We gave you a purpose, Mom. We gave you people to care for. And now you're throwing that away over what? Some text messages. Some hurt feelings. The words stung. They were designed to sting. You're right about one thing, I said quietly. I have been lonely since your father died. And I did cling to those Sunday dinners because they made me feel like I still had a family. But you know what I've realized? I'd rather be lonely than be surrounded by people who see my loneliness as a weakness to exploit. That's not what we... Yes, it is. That's exactly what you did. Both of you. You saw that I was vulnerable, and you used it against me. Mom, please. I'm not finished. I need you to understand something, Trish. I loved those Sunday dinners. I loved having you all in my home. I loved feeling like I was still a mother, still needed. But I will not be taken advantage of anymore. I will not fund Derek's lifestyle. I will not bail him out of the consequences of his own choices. And I will not pretend that what you both did was okay. So that's it? You're cutting us off. I'm not cutting you off. You're welcome to call me. You're welcome to visit. But things will be different from now on. No more money. No more enabling. And no more lies. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be an honest one. And if we can't do that, if we can't live up to your new standards, then I guess we don't have a relationship. The words hung in the air between us. I could hear Trish breathing on the other end of the line. "You've changed," she said finally. "You're not the same person you were." "You're right. I have changed. I've realized that being a good mother doesn't mean letting my children walk all over me. It doesn't mean protecting them from every consequence. It means loving them enough to let them learn from their mistakes. Derek is going to lose everything because of you." "No. Derek is going to lose everything because of Derek. He made the choices that led him here. I'm just refusing to bail him out this time. His wife is leaving him. He's going to have to move. He might lose his job if this affects his reputation at work. And you're just going to stand by and watch it happen." "Yes, I am, because those are the natural consequences of his actions. And maybe, if he has to face them, he'll learn something. He'll become a better person. Or maybe he'll just end up bitter and broken. That's his choice to make. Just like cheating on Lisa was his choice. Just like lying to me was his choice. I can't protect him from his own decisions, Trish. And I shouldn't try." Trish was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You know, Derek was right. You have become cold. If setting boundaries makes me cold, then I'll accept that. Fine. Have it your way. But don't expect us to come crawling back when you realize what you've thrown away." "I won't. We're your children, Mom. Your only children. You're choosing to be alone." "No, Trish. You and Derek chose to treat me with disrespect. You chose to use me. You chose to mock me. I'm just choosing not to accept that treatment anymore. There's a difference. Whatever helps you sleep at night. What helps me sleep at night is knowing I'm not being taken advantage of anymore. That I'm not funding a lifestyle built on lies. That I'm not enabling behavior I know is wrong." "You're going to regret this?" "Maybe I will, but I doubt it." Trish hung up without saying goodbye, just like Derek had. I sat there in my quiet house, feeling strangely calm despite everything that had just happened. I just had the worst conversations of my life with both of my children. I'd essentially told them that our relationship was conditional on their treating me with basic respect. Something I should have done years ago. And I didn't regret it. Not even a little bit. Over the next 3 weeks, I heard nothing from Derek or Trish. Lisa called me twice to update me on the divorce proceedings. Derek had finally moved out of their apartment. He'd had to get a much cheaper place across town. Amanda, apparently, had broken up with him when she realized he was actually getting divorced. She just wanted the excitement of an affair, not the reality of a relationship. "He's been calling me constantly," Lisa told me, "begging me to reconsider, saying he's changed, that he'll do better. But Maggie, I'm done. I deserve better than this." "Yes, you do, honey. He asked me if you would help him with his lawyer fees. I told him to stop using other people to get to you." "Thank you for that. Hay's also been telling people that you've abandoned him in his time of need, that you're being cruel and heartless." "I'm sure he has. Aren't you upset about what people might think?" I thought about this. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not cruel or heartless. And anyone who doesn't know me well enough to understand why I'm doing this. Their opinion doesn't really matter to me. I wish I could be that strong. You are that strong, Lisa. You're getting divorced from a man you love because you know you deserve better. That takes incredible strength. I don't feel strong. I feel sad and angry and betrayed. You can be all those things and still be strong. They're not mutually exclusive. The weeks turned into a month. Halloween came and went. I handed out candy to neighborhood children, carved a pumpkin for my porch, and tried not to think about the fact that this was the first October in years without a Sunday dinner with my children. Then, on a cold Tuesday evening in early November, my doorbell rang. It was Derek. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His clothes looked wrinkled like he'd slept in them. His eyes were red-rimmed and tired. "Mom," he said. "Can we talk, please?" I hesitated. Then I stepped aside and let him in. We sat in my living room, him on the couch, me in the armchair across from him. The distance felt symbolic somehow. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Derek said. "About everything. About what I did to Lisa. About how I treated you. About the kind of person I've become." I waited, not saying anything. "You were right," he continued. "About all of it. I did use you. I did take advantage of your kindness. And those things I said in the text messages, they were cruel and disrespectful. And I'm ashamed of them." "Okay," I said simply. "I'm not here to ask for money. I know you won't give it to me, and honestly, I don't blame you. I'm here to apologize. Really apologize. Not because I want something from you, but because you deserve to hear it. I'm listening. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry for using you. I'm sorry for lying to you. I'm sorry for treating your love like it was something I could exploit. I'm sorry for mocking you and calling you names and thinking I was smarter than you. I wasn't. I was just cruel and selfish." He looked down at his hands. "I've lost everything. My wife, my nice apartment, my relationship with Amanda, not that that was ever real anyway, and I deserve all of it. I know that. This is all my fault." I still didn't say anything. I was waiting to see if there was more. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," Derek said. "I know that's going to take time, if it ever happens at all. I'm just asking you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did wrong, and I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better." "How?" I asked. "How are you going to be better?" "I'm going to start by taking responsibility for my own life. I got a second job, part-time at a grocery store. It's not glamorous, but it helps pay the bills. I'm going to pay for my own divorce lawyer, even if it takes me years, and I'm going to stop expecting other people to fix my problems for me." That's a good start. I talked to Lisa. She won't take me back, I know that. But I apologized to her too, really apologized without making excuses or trying to minimize what I did. She deserved that much, she did. Derek looked up at me. "I don't expect us to go back to how things were. I don't expect Sunday dinners or phone calls asking for advice or any of that. But I hope, someday maybe, we can have some kind of relationship. A honest one, like you said." I studied my son's face. He looked sincere, but I'd thought he was sincere before too. "Time will tell," I said. "If you really mean what you're saying, if you really do change, then maybe we can rebuild something. But Derek, I need you to understand that trust isn't rebuilt overnight. It takes consistent action over time." "I know. And I need you to know that our relationship will never be what it was. I won't be your safety net anymore. I won't bail you out of your mistakes. I can be your mother. I will always be your mother. But I won't be your enabler. I understand." We sat in silence for a moment. "Did Trish send you here?" I asked. Derek shook his head. "No. She thinks I'm wasting my time. She says you've made up your mind about us and nothing will change it." "What do you think?" I think you made up your mind that you deserved better treatment. And you were right to do that. If I want a relationship with you, I have to earn it." I nodded slowly. "That's the first truly mature thing I've heard you say in a very long time." Derek stood up to leave. At the door he turned back. "Mom, thank you." "For what?" "For not just forgiving me automatically. For making me actually face what I did. I think I needed that." After he left, I sat in my living room for a long time thinking. Maybe Derek would change. Maybe he wouldn't. Only time would tell. But I had changed and I wasn't going back. Spring came slowly that year. The winter had been long and cold, and I'd spent much of it alone. But it wasn't the same kind of loneliness I'd felt after James died. This was different, quieter, more peaceful. I'd made changes in my life beyond just setting boundaries with my children. I joined a watercolor painting class at the community center. I'd always wanted to learn, but I'd never made time for it. Now, every Tuesday and Thursday morning, I sat with a group of women my age, learning to mix colors and create landscapes. We laughed at our mistakes and celebrated our small victories. Afterward, we'd go to the diner across the street for coffee and conversation. I'd made friends, real friends, people who wanted to spend time with me, not for what I could give them. I also started volunteering at the women's shelter downtown, the same shelter I'd designated as a beneficiary in my new will. I read to the children there twice a week. They reminded me why I'd become a teacher in the first place. Their faces would light up when I did different voices for the characters, and they'd beg me to read just one more chapter. Lisa and I stayed in touch. Her divorce was finalized in February. She'd met someone new, a kind man named Marcus who worked as a physical therapist. She brought him to meet me over coffee one Saturday, and I could see how different this relationship was. How Marcus looked at her with respect and genuine affection. How he listened when she spoke. How he made her laugh. He's nothing like Derek. Lisa told me when Marcus went to get us more coffee. He's honest and steady and kind. I didn't know relationships could be like this. You deserve this, Lisa. You deserve someone who treats you well. I'm sorry it didn't work out with Derek. I know he's your son, and that must be hard for you. Don't apologize for choosing yourself. I'm proud of you for doing that. Derek kept his word about not asking for money. He called me once a month, always on the first Sunday of the month, at exactly 2 o'clock. We'd talk for about 30 minutes. The conversations were awkward at first, stilted and careful. But slowly over months they became easier. He told me about his 2 jobs, how exhausting it was, but how it felt good to be standing on his own feet for the first time in his adult life. He told me about the small apartment he'd rented, how he was learning to budget and cook for himself. He told me he'd started seeing a therapist to work through why he'd made the choices he had. She says I have issues with responsibility and consequences. He told me during one of our calls that I'd been enabled my whole life to avoid facing the results of my actions. She's probably right, I said. I know. And I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to realize that. I didn't offer him money. He didn't ask for it. It was progress. Trish, on the other hand, went in the opposite direction. She called me once in December, claiming she wanted to clear the air before the holidays. But within 5 minutes, she was asking if I'd reconsider helping Derek with some Christmas gifts for his children from his first marriage. I'm not giving Derek money, and I'm not giving you money to give to Derek, I said firmly. So that's how it's going to be. You're just going to punish us forever. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply not financing your lifestyles anymore. You've become a bitter old woman, Trish said. Dad would be ashamed of you. That stung, it was meant to. Your father, I said carefully, would be ashamed of children who took advantage of their mother's love. He would be ashamed of children who lied and manipulated and called their mother names behind her back. So don't you dare try to use his memory to guilt me into doing what you want. Trish hung up. I haven't heard from her since. I won't pretend it doesn't hurt. She's still my daughter. I still love her. But I also know that some people aren't willing to change. Some people would rather lose relationships than admit they were wrong. I've made peace with that. In April, I did something I'd been thinking about for months. I took James's life insurance money. The money Derek and Trish had called, just sitting there. And I used it. I donated $50,000 to the women's shelter, enough to renovate their children's reading room and stock it with new books. They named it the James Williams Reading Corner, in honor of my late husband. I used another $30,000 to set up college funds for Derek's children from his first marriage. They were teenagers now, and their mother had been struggling to save for their education. Derek wasn't contributing much in child support. He barely made enough to cover his own expenses. So I did it myself. The funds are in a trust that only the children can access when they turn 18, for educational purposes only, and I kept the rest for myself, for my own future, for my own security, for travel and hobbies and whatever else I wanted to do with it. It felt good. It felt like taking my life back. On a warm Sunday in May, almost exactly 8 months after I'd seen those text messages on Derek's phone, I hosted a dinner party. Not a Sunday family dinner. Something different. I invited my friends from the painting class. I invited the director of the women's shelter and her wife. I invited Lisa and Marcus. I invited my former teaching colleague Dorothy, who I'd reconnected with. I invited Robert, my lawyer, and his husband. My house was full of laughter and conversation and the smell of good food. We ate on the back patio, surrounded by the garden I'd been cultivating since James died. The tulips were in full bloom, and the evening air was warm and sweet. "This is lovely, Maggie," Dorothy said, raising her glass of wine. "We should make this a regular thing." "I'd like that," I said. And I meant it. This felt like family. Not because of blood or obligation, but because of genuine affection and respect. Later that evening, after everyone had left and I was cleaning up, my phone rang. It was Derek. "Mom, I know it's not our usual call day, but I wanted to tell you something." "What is it?" "I got promoted. At the electronics store, they're making me assistant manager. It comes with a raise and benefits and everything." I could hear the pride in his voice. Real pride earned through his own hard work. "That's wonderful, Derek. Congratulations." "Thanks." "And Mom, I know I say this every time we talk, but I need to say it again. Thank you. Thank you for not bailing me out. Thank you for making me figure things out on my own. I'm a better person now than I was a year ago. I'm not perfect, but I'm better." "You're welcome, sweetheart. I miss you. I miss our Sunday dinners. I miss you too," I said honestly. "But Derek, those dinners weren't real. They were built on lies and manipulation. If we're going to have dinners again someday, they need to be built on honesty." "I know. And I'm working on that. Every day. I'm working on being someone worthy of your trust again. That's all I can ask for." After we hung up, I stood in my kitchen. The same kitchen where I'd discovered the text messages, where I'd confronted my own enabling behavior, where I'd made the decision to change my life, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. My children had betrayed me. They'd used me and mocked me and taken advantage of my love, and it had hurt. It still hurt. But I'd survived it, more than survived, I'd grown from it. I'd learned that being a good mother doesn't mean sacrificing yourself on the altar of your children's wants. It doesn't mean protecting them from every consequence or funding every mistake. Being a good mother means loving your children enough to let them become responsible adults, even when that means stepping back and letting them struggle. I'd learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about respect and honesty and genuine care for each other. The people I'd had at my dinner table tonight, they were my family now. And maybe someday, if Derek continued on his current path, he could be part of that family again too. But Trish? I wasn't sure about Trish. Maybe she'd come around eventually. Maybe she wouldn't. Either way, I'd be okay, because I'd learned the most important lesson of all. I didn't need anyone to complete me or give my life purpose. I was complete on my own. The love I'd given my children hadn't been wasted. It had taught me how much I had to give. But from now on, I'd give it to people who valued it, who respected it, who didn't see it as a weakness to exploit. I looked around my quiet house. Tomorrow I had my painting class. Tuesday I was reading to the children at the shelter. Friday, Dorothy and I were going to see a movie. My days were full. My life was full. Not in the way it had been before, not with the family I'd thought I had, but with something real, something honest, something I'd built for myself. I'd spent 40 years teaching children about consequences and integrity and standing up for themselves. Now, at 69 years old, I'd finally learned to apply those lessons to my own life, and I'd never felt freer.